Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Zone to Speak podcast. I'm your host, Juliana. Before the episode, I have got to share one of my absolute favorite ride essentials, the cyclist Smart Pump. This little thing goes everywhere with me. It's compact, powerful, and honestly a game changer on the bike. I love using it mid-ride when switching between terrains. I can drop the pressure for gravel and then pump it back up when I hit the road. Super easy, super fast. And of course, it's a total lifesaver in case of a flat or any loss of air. No stress, no hand pumping. Just press the button and go. You can grab yours with 10% off using my code ZONE2SPEAK. Link and details are in the episode notes. Trust me, once you try it, you won't leave for a ride without it. Cyc Plus Smart Pump. Smart, simple, and ready for any adventure. Now, let's hear it for the episode. Today on Zone to Speak, I am joined by Saoirse Pottie, a cyclist, adventurer, and community builder who has a way of making the world feel both bigger and smaller at the same time. From solo expeditions across Africa to adventure rides in South America, she has chased adventure not just for the sake of the challenge, but for human connections. She also creates welcoming spaces closer to home through her bikepacking weekends, bringing people together to share miles, campfires, and conversations. We met at Lyle's Badlands Rally, and today we are finally catching up to hear more about where her journey has taken her so far, what she's learned along the way, and what's next. Welcome to Zone to Speak.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the very flattering introduction.
Well, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time because even before we met, I saw your adventures in Africa, and it's so brave to take on such a huge adventure, especially on your own and in the continent of Africa, that it's very different than your culture. And it's something that I also would love to do. I have questions about that. I mean, probably not all around Africa like you did, but some parts of it. So your solo expedition in Africa really stands out as one of those life shaping adventures. Solo riding is such a vast, unpredictable, adventure, especially on that landscape. Probably you were tested in so many ways. Can you take me back to that trip? What drew you there, and what were your biggest challenges and rewards?
Before I got into proper bike packing and everything, I worked in marine biology and I actually lived in Mozambique for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
That's where I want to go.
it's amazing. It's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Oh,
But I lived in like a small kind of fisherman town. It was super cool, and I was there for about a year. And whilst I was out there was someone who ran across the width of Africa and they finished in Mozambique. And I remember like
okay.
reading this and I was like, that's super cool. And then as like a little sub underneath the picture, there was a woman that was supporting him, this woman, Libby Boyles, and she was supporting him on a bicycle. And it was the first time I was like, oh, like obviously really cool that this man's done this crazy achievement, but for me it was like, oh, a woman can cycle on a bike across Africa, because I think you get so used to men doing these crazy things and
Yes.
you're like, oh yeah, cool, of course, that's
Yeah.
crazy, that's wild, he's just run across a continent. But it was something about the first time I think that like sparked this idea, um, of like, I wonder, can you cycle across Africa? And then I came back and I was kind of getting into doing more cycling, these kind of like local adventures, so back to the UK. And I was looking as well, like on the sidelines of who had done these, if it was still possible. And I came across Mark Beaumont's book, Solo, um,
Yes.
which is amazing. He goes from Cairo all the way down to Cape Town, and I was like, that's really cool. So you can cycle the length of Africa. And there was finding research about all these men that were doing it. And then I was like trying to find something, and like deep in Google, I found a blog by Tegan Phillips,
Oh,
Yeah, and
okay.
she had done this trip with her family,
Wow.
and she put me in touch with um, a girl called Callie Billy Barrow. Um,
Okay.
Billy
Don't know
Barrow,
her.
Billy Barrow, which she then cycled on her own, kind of a similar route that I was planning to do. And I kept kind of researching, bumping and like looking, and I kept finding more and more women that had done it or cycle solo. So that was kind of inspiration. I think the more you have like a little spark moment, and then you're like, is it possible? And then you do a bit of deep diving, and you're like, they've done it. Maybe I could do it. And so that's how I ended up kind of coming up, like I guess, getting to the point of doing it. And the other thing that while I was in this kind of research period, I found down a very deep YouTube rabbit hole a man that makes bamboo bikes.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really, really cool. This man called Kasuma. It's like Bugali bikes, and they're bamboos like locally sourced, and he makes it to your measurement. And he like because he says each bike's not just a bike, it's a piece of art, and he like signs it, but it's African style, so it's like with a Sharpie, and it's super. They're such beautiful, beautiful bike frames. And I watched like a few little like kind of mini documentaries on him where they're calling him like an African entrepreneur, but he yeah, it was, and he was trying to give back to the community, and also that it just seemed a really beautiful project. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna cycle through Africa, I want to use his bike. He like basically signs these bikes, and because he considers each bike a piece of art. So they're super, super beautiful, and I fell in love with the project. And what I decided to do was I had 5 months kind of free, and I was like trying to figure out whether I had enough time to start in Cape Town, and then cycle up and finish in his workshop. So that was kind of my plan
Wow.
was
Cool.
I got the bike shipped to Cape Town and then finished where his workshop was, which was between Uganda and Rwanda, like that, right on that border. So it was nice. It was nice to have like a purpose to it. Um, and I think the original question was you're asking me the challenges and highlights and
Yeah, the how was the adventure overall? Like with the challenge of being solo, but also the highlights.
yeah. I think honestly the biggest challenge was getting. I think everyone says this, but getting to the
Hmm.
start line. I think it took me maybe 3 years of having this initial idea, or maybe longer, from having the initial idea to doing it to then actually doing it. And it was the adventure I did last winter, which was cycling 3 parts of South America. Maybe was a couple of months planning, and the logistics. I don't think that 3 years was mostly logistics planning. It was mental planning of like feeling confident and prepared to actually go out and take it on and do it. So I think that's the hardest part about taking on an adventure like that. When you're out there, I was super lucky that I bumped into another girl, Abby Popplestone, who also had been planning to cycle through Africa. And so we actually set off and we did the first kind of 6 weeks together, which made it
Nice.
much more less daunting, I think, like just doing that first bit together. Um,
Yeah, probably gave you more confidence to
yeah,
navigate
and then
on your own. Yeah.
when you're out there, you're like, oh, this isn't as bad as everyone told me it was going to be. This isn't as bad as expected. This isn't as scary. This isn't as daunting. So it becomes a lot more um, palatable, a lot more achievable than whenever you're looking from the outside, wanting to do it. It's like when you look out the window and you see it raining, and you're like, oh, that looks horrible. And then you go outside and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it's not that bad. Actually, it's
Yeah.
fine.
What would say was your favorite part riding across Africa? Any favorite
Mm.
country or region?
I think my favorite part was in Kenya. It was really cool. I did some of the Kenyan Bike Odyssey, which is a phenomenal route. It allows you to go through um, some like national parks, and you see giraffe. It's awesome. And then I was I actually had bumped into three other Spanish guys, and we'd kind of been on and off through Kenya, like cycling together, then on our own, and it was really nice. They had very unsuitable bikes, so they could only do like section. Every time I went with them, we had like panniers flying everywhere and punctures, and it was a
Wow.
lot of fun, but very slow. Um, anyway, the last kind of day we were together, they were going to go off and do more of a road section. We bumped into some local cyclists, um, and we they invited us to lunch, and we ended up staying at their house. The boys kind of went off, and then I kind of continued on the Kenyan Odyssey, and we did this thing called critical mass, which happens on a Sunday, and it ended up being like me, my new friends, and like 40 like local cyclists, and we kept
Oh,
going, like
cool.
growing, growing, growing. It was amazing. It was just super, super cool. And yeah, there was like a guy, and he had brought his like 5-year-old daughter.
Wow.
It's still, I think, in that area. Yeah, it was just amazing. It was amazing because everyone was on like all these different types of bikes. Like there was super tall people on like really small bikes, and like vice versa. And it didn't really matter. It was just everyone was like out to have a good time, and it was a really beautiful, beautiful moment. Um, yeah, and just really cool seeing. It's really cool meeting that guy that had he brought his like 70 kilometer, and his daughter did the 70K out, and he was like turning around to go
Wow.
again, and super inspiring seeing like and spending time with the people that live there. Yeah, and sharing like this passion, even though you've grown up very differently. Like, yeah, it was amazing.
Wow. What a vibe. And then in contrast, I believe you created a group and did a very big ride in South America. Can you tell me a little bit more of the adventure and how different it was from Africa, not just in landscape, but culture, and also because I think Africa, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe Africa was your solo expedition where in South America you created this group of women and wanted to create something meaningful, I believe. I don't know, like what was it? How did that experience compare from going, from going solo, and what did you take away from writing as part of a collective journey?
Yeah, I had never been to the continent of South America before. Something that I was super curious, super interested to visit. I was trying to learn Spanish as well because I think that whole language thing is, um, you can have a surface level conversation, you can go somewhere, but unless you speak the language, you're never going to fully understand the country. Um,
Yeah.
so that's something I'm working on. I have a lot to work on. Uh, and there was a few reasons why I wanted to do that. One was I really got a lot from traveling solo, but also at times it was lonely, and I was like, I would love to do a big adventure and do it with friends. And I think I'm at this point in life where I'm 33 now, and there's so much pressure from different ways. One person tells you you should settle down, buy a house, have kids, and one person tells you this is the time you should travel and see everything, and you're like, ah. And it makes you very aware that the way things are now are not going to be like this forever. Whether it's your own, you can make your own choices, whichever path you choose in life. But also, you have this friend group, or had this amazing friend group, where I knew that their lives are all going to be changing. People are moving countries, people are settling down, so it felt like a very special moment in time where I could say to a group of friends, like, let's do a big adventure, let's do it now, and let's do it when we can. And the route we did was the Cathedra Austral, which goes
Oh, yeah,
from,
I heard of that.
yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah, it's really, really great. And what makes it a suitable route, so we were 11 girls and one husband. And what some people had done, like lots of bike packing before, some people had to buy a bike, they'd never done any kind of
Wow.
multi-day cycling. And some people had done lots of like hiking and overnight like crazy hikes, but they hadn't done it cycling. So there was like different levels of experience. And this route is 1,200 kilometers. You're a mixture of road and off-road, but the off-roads, you can definitely puncture your tires, but it's not like crazy single track,
Okay.
it's not, it's not, I wouldn't describe it as princess gravel, but it's like very doable.
Okay.
There's one route, the navigation's pretty simple. You go the wild camping, you can wild camp, you can literally put your water under a stream and just drink from the water. It's super fresh. You
Where did you
pass,
girls start?
we started in Puerto Montt, which is South Chile.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then you rode north,
we rode south. Yeah,
south.
yeah,
Oh,
we
it went even
were
further south. Okay.
And then it was a month, and we spent like Christmas and New Year's out there, and then some people stayed on, and we rode all the way to the south tip of Ushuaia. Yeah, so it was two
Wow.
months, I think, in total, or 2.5 months in total. Um, yeah, it was amazing, super cool. But if anyone's thinking of like an international, they've got like a month or 2 months off, and they want to do a trip, then this is a really beautiful yeah, really beautiful trip. This, yeah,
Yeah, in December there is summer, uh,
mhm.
so probably good temperatures.
Yeah, yeah. We got lucky. I got told that um, expected to be like Ireland in April, so like spring in April. But we got a beautiful, beautiful weather. Incredible winds when it goes further south. We were having like 70-mile-an-hour wind points where you couldn't cycle. It was just winds like I've never experienced before. And I would say to anyone thinking of doing it, definitely go from north to south, because the people I met that are going south to north were not having a good time.
So
Um,
it was headwind all the way.
it's just
Oh,
nuts, like day after day of like they're pushing their bikes because the winds are so crazy.
whoa. No,
Um,
thank you.
Most people that were going south to north were doing it as like part of a huge adventure. They wanted to start at one point. And it
Right.
was just the weather working that way. But I was amazed by their fortitude, their can-do attitude, because it was tough. Yeah.
And then you went back home, and I think as of recent, kind of recent, you started doing the bike packing weekends, which
Hmm.
look so cool. Adventure doesn't always have to mean continent. Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
about creating something meaningful um, locally. You have been running this event, opening the doors for more people to experiencing the joy of riding, camping, and connecting. What inspired you to start these weekends,
Oh,
and
that
what
makes it sound
impact?
so cool. And it was amazing doing that trip. Like I said, some people hadn't bike packed before, and that was quite a big step to be like I had I lent out 3 bikes for that trip because my friends were like, oh, I'd love to join, but I don't have a bike, and I was like, have my bike.
Wow.
um, but I think what was really cool is seeing, like, when whenever you're starting out yourself and you're like, oh, I can't believe I've just done this thing, I wonder what else I can do. And that's cool to experience yourself, but then whenever you see that in somebody else, that's even more awesome. You're like, somebody else like, whoa, I can't
Yes.
believe I've done that. um, and Ireland, where I work for most of the summer, has the potential for amazing bikepacking routes. And I've met a lot of people bikepacking there. Most people I've met bikepacking tend to be from overseas. They're not Irish people that are bikepacking. And it just made me think, I wonder, are there Because in the UK there's all these lots of different events, and it feels like there's a huge community of people. And it was a question in my mind of, are there the people there that they just haven't met each other yet, or is there not people there? So I was like, well, there's only one way to find out. So I ran this event in May last year, like a bike packing event, and it was amazing. I had just over 30 people turn up. It sold out within like the first 24 hours. I had 300 people, almost 300 people sign up for an email list.
Wow,
And then
that's
I ran
amazing.
another smaller event in August, which was super cool as well. But it was crazy for me because I was really nervous before the first one, because I was like, and to my knowledge, there's not been this kind of bikepacking event in Ireland before. So I don't know if anyone's actually going to turn up, if there's going to be people there. Um, and it was cool to see this. There's a club called the New Forest Off Road Club that's in the UK, and I admire them. And they have a quote that's, "If you don't see it, build it." And I was super inspired by that. So I was like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I'll just put it out there and hopefully people will turn up. Um, and yeah, super amazed that people did turn up and that it was cool, and that the people that did turn up were just incredible. So it was really fulfilling. Yeah.
Amazing. How about if someone listening would like to do an expedition? There's a lot of planning and preparation involved, you know. How do you prepare mentally, physically, logistics? Are there any tips that you can give to someone before you start heading into a big expedition like Africa versus a group ride? Like, how do you decide what to pack and what do you leave behind? How do you start? Like, even I mean, it's a loaded question, but even like for
Mhm.
me would be also even the routes. I'm always so worried about hitting a dead end, or that route wasn't good and you're in a bike with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my perception of planning has definitely changed and is changing for sure. When I was thinking of doing the Africa trip, I mean, I think it was like 4 years I was thinking about and planning this trip. And I was like in my spare time, like looking up the routes. And I realized at the end of that trip that plans never go to plan. So it's more about, the planning aspect is more about making yourself feel comfortable.
Mm.
Um, so if it makes you feel safe to have a route, it makes you feel safe to um, exercise, and like say I'm going to have this fitness, and this is obviously different because it's different types of, if you're doing if you're doing a sport event or you're doing bike packing. But for these kind of expeditions where you're going for a month or 2 months or 5 months, if it makes you feel better to do all the fitness stuff and to have a certain mileage and be like, I want to be able to achieve this. For me, it was like my main thing was camping. I was super nervous about camping on my own. So I wanted to do like solo expeditions beforehand so that I could feel confident camping. Um, I think the planning, it's about what you feel comfortable with. Ultimately, if you're doing a long expedition, it doesn't matter if you start and when you start you do 40K, your fitness is going to build up. The route that you have planned is going to change. Something's going to happen and you're not going to be able to do the exact route. And at some point, you're going to have to let go of the plan that you had. But I think it's about um, controlling your nerves. It's like, what aspects worrying me? How can I make myself feel like I'm more in control of this so that I'm more calm? Um,
That's a very, very good insight that your fitness is going to grow regardless because you're going to be on the road. You can take breaks. You can do as much as you can that day. And I'm sure, that's going to build up. That's a very good point. And that you just need to have with you whatever makes you feel comfortable because your mental is more important, I guess, because if
yeah.
you don't have the mental, you're going to break it.
And I guess that's what comes to with packing as well, is With the packing of bike packing, what you want to bring, it's always at two sides of the scale. One side of the scale is that you bring more things and you're more comfortable, but your bike is heavier. And the other side of the scale is you bring less luxury items. Your bike's lighter, so your cycling is like faster, whatever, but you have less luxury items. So it's like, okay, something that's going to make me really feel at home is bringing a pillow or bringing these books to read. I know people that bring, they're like, I don't want to read a Kindle. I want to bring these books, or I want to bring my coffee maker in the morning. This like element of routine that you can bring with you. I think it's completely personal.
Yeah. I mean, there's the basics, and everybody knows what the basics are. But I guess above that, you're right. It's what's comfortable to you. I like what you said also about some people do want to keep certain elements of their routine. So do that. Yeah. It should be flexible. It should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah. How about lessons from the road? Like, what are some of the biggest lessons you have carried forward about yourself, about people, or about cycling as a way to see the world
Mm-hmm.
after, doing your South America expedition, Africa expeditions, and you keep going. I know you're touring all the time.
I think you don't ever stop learning. I think that's one thing that's the reason why I really love to travel via bicycle is because it really connects you with the landscape and the people. You're going to feel every single little bump you're up to. You're going to go through all these towns and villages that people normally wouldn't travel to.
Yeah.
And it may feel something, um, for me, like I'm most interested in a country and a place when I'm there. And I'm like, why is that like that? Why what's going on here? And then you can read about it, and it really engages you with the country and the people. And I think what I noticed about, especially Africa, I think South America, the travel system's a bit better in terms of the public transport system. So there's people that are traveling via public transport more, and people traveling maybe by motorcycle, different kind of things. But in Africa, it tends to be people are going there and they're going from one hotel to another hotel to a safari to another hotel. And so there's like these pots where there's like towns and cities where there's people there, but all the small villages, there's not, you're not getting access to, and most people aren't going to. And
Yeah.
I thought traveling by bike was a really unique way of going and visiting these places, both for me, but then I also think even if it's something small, if you're going into a shop and you're buying um, cookies or whatever else, that's why those routes like the Kenyan Odyssey or the Trans-Ugandan Way or the Congo-Nile Trail, which is in Rwanda, are really amazing because they give people a pathway. And I think I listened to a podcast the other day that was about the Kenya Odyssey, and it was talking about you're injecting money into the local economy, even though you're just buying maybe biscuits or small things, but there are places where you're not overwhelming the tourism or you're not overwhelming the towns, but you're like giving money back in a cool way. So I think the biggest lesson is I think bicycle travel can be mutually beneficial. I think it can benefit the way that you travel, and I think it can also benefit the communities that you go to if it's done in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking about that with Max from Grav Grav. He's doing some of those opening routes to people, and each route has different education and meaning. I mean, maybe you don't want all that, you just want to ride the route. But we talked about that as well on the sustainable tourism, how cycling, you're not just injecting money into the local community and small businesses most of the time, but it's also a very sustainable way to travel and to see other countries because you're also moving and you are not usually in crowded places. So hopefully it's a way that more and more people can start doing it. It's not accessible to everyone, or not everyone has the fitness or is afraid to take up, but um, it's really a beautiful way to create change, create impact, but also personally, you are much more immersed into a culture, and you get to see much more and learn more. Like you said, you
Yeah.
always learning. Yeah. Um, so adventurers like you don't sit still for long. What's next for you? Are you
Mm.
planning any new expeditions, or are you building more community projects? Anything on the horizon?
This winter, well, it's been I think 3 years now, just over 3 years, and I have been working as a guide during the summer. And I take trips and we stay for like 2 nights one place, 2 nights another, one night another. And then in the winter, I've been living out of a suitcase in the summer, and then in the winter out of a bike packing bag, which has been a lot of fun. But I feel like my brain is like a Windows PC 2000, when you put it on and everyone holds their breath to see how it's going to catch up. And what I'm craving right now is a little bit of time in one place, um, and to work on a couple of those projects. I'd really like to try and build some bikepacking things in Ireland and grow this community a little bit over the next year or two. The other thing I would like to do is a mini adventure, but nothing as long, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, is last year when I was cycling the Cratera Austral, I met this man at a hostel, and he was traveling south to north, and he was maybe in his 60s, this kind of age, and he had an old phone with him, but he had a map, and he pulled out his map, and on his map he had all these drawings of here's the bakery I stayed at, here's this thing, and people were telling him about these places, and I knew that those places were coming up because I was there's a app you can use called iOverlander, and you can look and see where have other people stayed. And I was like, how sad that, like, for him, this is all new. It's all, like, whereas I can research, and I think it takes a little bit away from the adventure whenever you can just look on Google Maps and you can be like, where am I going to go tonight? You remember in the 90s, before we had these Google Maps, we would have like our maps in our car, and we would stop. So you'd get lost and you'd have to stop somebody and be like, where am I?
Where is this? Yeah.
Yeah, and they'd point you in the direction. So I think on
Yeah.
one side it's like totally amazing we have all this technology, but on the other side it removes you from the connection that you can have with people. So I had this idea of going back to like a 90s adventure where you don't have a smartphone, you just have a map, and you ask somebody, where do I go to tonight? And then they put a mark on the map, and you go there and you ask somebody else where you go to. And like I said, I'm trying to learn Spanish, so probably try and do that until I think start and do it till I can at least speak a little bit of Spanish, and then yeah, that's the goal.
Well, that would be really, really cool.
Yeah,
I really like that.
yeah, I think technology is amazing, even with your smartphones, and you're thinking about. There was points last there's where you're thinking about, should I photograph this or should I be in the moment more? Should I video this or should I
Yes.
be in the moment more? And I'd quite like to do an adventure where I just do no research, don't know where I'm going to go. I've got a lot of amount of time, and I just don't have a smartphone, and I'm just maybe I can have a 90s video camcorder if I want to record something in a journal and just, yeah, take it back a little bit.
Yeah, I like that too, actually, when I travel. I mean, I have traveled with some people that do a lot of research, and it's nice in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, you know all the best places, we know where to go, great, I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
do anything. But I just also love to go blind and just take the experience really raw from my own perspective and find the places.
And when you go on your adventures and your races, are you sharing those in live time, or do you share them afterwards, or how much of those do you share?
Depends. It really depends. Sometimes, a lot of times I'm saving battery. So I'm taking pictures, but sometimes I really also want to be on the moment. I don't want to be like trying to find right angles and right lighting and taking the best pictures. Like I would just want to be on the moment. But when I do, which I also enjoy to tell the story and have pictures to show, I could still do that day, but not on the moment. Rarely I do right on that moment because I'm always trying to save battery. My phone usually is even on airplane mode because I don't want to be getting notifications or get a message. So it's airplane mode or off. Sometimes airplane mode just so I can take pictures if I want to, and that's it. And then, yeah, just after the trip, or if I stop at night and there's time, I might go and do a post.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I am really inspired by you. One day I will have the courage and do an expedition. I don't know if you'll be solo, but I really would like to take 3 months off. Hopefully, nobody from my job is listening right now. I would love to take a 3 months off and just do something like that. I don't know if it'll be Africa or Asia or even South America, but I would love to do something like that. So, I mean, Saoirse, thank you so much for sharing your adventures from navigating Africa on your own to finding community in South America, creating bikepacking weekends that make cycling more accessible. So I'm sure listeners will come away feeling inspired to step outside their comfort zone.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for your patience in all of our different schedule changes and everything. So really appreciate it.
Well, I wish you all the best in your next chapter, and hopefully we can sync up schedules one day and do an adventure.
Yeah,
Maybe I can go to Ireland because I haven't been, and I really would love to go to one of your bikepacking
you
events.
have to. Yeah,
I
super
would
fun.
love to. All right. Well, thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
And that's all for today's episode. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends.